Welcome back, everybody. Well, today let's try to build some forms so we can get some concrete poured maybe next week. But if you followed along in the past, you know I've been having a roof put on. So let's take a ride. We'll get a little better look of it. I'll tell you, these guys that put the roof on for me, they never did use a ladder to get on the roof. They used this JLG lift, but this is a 45-foot lift. But it just gave them access to get up on there, and they could set their panels up on it with it. So they didn't scratch me up trying to, drag pieces up over the edge, but they've done me a pretty good job. A few footprints out here, so hopefully the next rain, it'll clean her up good. But hey, we got a roof on, I'm glad for it. Here's what I'm doing on these forms. Anytime if you've formed up any concrete, usually you'll pull your lines and you put that up there and you drive stakes down in here, then it hits a rock and it's in and out. You got to try to get it, drive it straight where you can hold this on line. But I've just found with these little standoffs, I can come in and screw it from the back side, in which I'll cover that with plastic. So when I get done, I can unscrew my pins, and then I can just slide my forms out. For one, you save your material, but two, you can just slide it out, then unscrew your screws, and everything comes apart. But when you're by yourself trying to hold it on a line, drive pins, keep everything straight and true, it's just difficult to do. So I've found I'll come in here, screw my standard, my little standoff, go ahead and screw it to my material. It's laying back here flat on the ground, and then I'll go ahead and drive my two stakes. And then I can take this wedge, I can set and raise it, move it up and down, and then I can just ease this thing over here to my line. Then all I got to do is come back at that point and screw it in, and I'm not having to drive a stake right beside it. It'd hit a rock and throw me off, and me pulling, having to adjust stakes. I can pull this thing over here, and I don't have to do any driving against my board. I'm holding here, so now I've got two stakes, so it's going to have to push both of those stakes out in order to be able to move this, and I can take off walking down through there on that, and I'll about bet you it won't move. But it works out pretty good when you're by yourself. And then if a person want to come back in here, if you're worried about it, you can come back in here, brace this in the middle of that. But a 4-inch pour, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So anyway, we'll keep moving along, but there's you something to try if you're by yourself. Seems to work pretty good. And if you can see down through there, you can hold a pretty tight tolerance with it as well. Now they always say put your money where your mouth is. Let's see if it'll hold me. You can tell I wasn't a tightrope walker. Well, it's a new day. Let's try to get as much done as we can before that sun comes up. Well, I hate those of you watching this can't get the feels of what I'm feeling. It's about like turning your oven on and got it on preheat, and you stick your hand in there just to, after a few minutes, see if it's warming up. It's about what it feels like, and add about 100% humidity to it. That's the comfort level we got to work with today. So it's gonna be a fun day, so let's get to it. Well, everything is formed. The weatherman was right. It's hot. But now I'm going to go in here and check my elevation on everything and make sure, you know, I don't need 6 inches of concrete in here for this porch. So I'll go through here and establish me a line around the house, and then I'll basically take a 2x4 probably, and that way I can take the top of it, put it on my line, come over here and see how much fill I need. 3.5, 4 inches is all I want really for this porch, but let's do a little raking. I know I'm gonna have to add a few rock here around my forms, but hopefully it'll hold some concrete. Now I ended up putting an inch fall from the house out to the edge, which it'll all be covered, so you know you'll get some water blowing back in when storms come, but that should give it enough fall for that water to run off the porch. The same as the other side, I'll end up coming out of here, and then we'll go out and pour into this little courtyard, if you want to call it. But I've got it set up to where my heat and air system will be there, and then I've got some more equipment that'll have to go here, but then that'll lead straight out of here, come down the sidewalk, take you into the house there, and then I'll put a little bathroom right here in the corner of the garage. So if you're out here on this side of the house and need to get in the bathroom, you got a place to go. Well folks, I think I've had about all the fun I want for today, but I did go ahead and around the foundation to where my plastic, which is my vapor barrier that's under my slab, and I brought it up over my forms when I poured that, and so I was able to trim it, and then I've took that zip tape and go around all the way around the bottom of the house, and that's got that pretty well sealed off. And they'll need something solid there when they form it or pour the concrete, that way they can flip a line back there and give them a place to shoot off of. So anyway, we got that done. We'll get back next day or two. We'll get back on this, make sure we got our elevations the way we want them, lay some plastic down, put the steel in her. Measure me.
4 inches to the top or the bottom?
To the bottom of it.
That's like 2.5.
Okay, keep coming right on up.
2.5.
Okay. Okay, we need to take some of that off. Pull that, pull it back, and pull it back here. Make some back here. I think my memory serves me correct, but I said earlier in this video, which was a few days ago, that I was going to go ahead and put a vapor barrier down underneath the porch. But the main reason I was going to do that was I was planning on acid staining this porch, and talking to my concrete guy, and he said, you know, you need to sort of keep an eye on the moisture level in the concrete, which obviously when it first pours, you got moisture in it. So I was thinking, well, that might help prevent, you know, excess moisture coming in the concrete, and I could get that to cure quicker, so I could go ahead and get that done, put a sealer coat on it. But I've decided I'm going to do about a 16-inch border out here, a stamp border, and then we're just going to do a light broom finish back to the house. That way nobody's slipping and sliding coming around through here. So that's the reason I decided not to go with a vapor barrier under it. But I did put plastic out here, probably a 2-foot piece here, and I wrapped it up over my forms. But what that'll allow me to do is when the concrete pours, they'll pour right up there to the edge, and when everything's set and we take the forms off, I can pop that plastic up, unscrew my stakes, everything will pull right out away from the concrete, and I'll be able to reuse that lumber somewhere. As I've mentioned before, when I poured the slab for the house, I let steel run on out beyond my slab, and then I've bent it up, and then I'm carrying this 1/2-inch rebar over here over the top of it and then wiring it together. That way it should tie this concrete together back here at the house and hopefully prevent any settling. But I'm basically back here at the house I'll run a long joint all the way down the wall, and that way it should tie us in. But if you see these, notice these laid on a diagonal. I went ahead, when I ordered this steel, I had that guy cut it for me, but I didn't want to have a bunch of little wasted pieces on the end, so I had him cut these at 10 feet because I knew I was going to bend it back here on the end to come down and catch that stub. So I've got everything laid in here on a diagonal, but I'll come back in between these and we'll grid it and tie it together. And then I've got one here within about 2.5–3 inches of the edge of the concrete, and then they're spaced out about every 2 foot. So when I come in here, I'm basically going to have a 2-foot grid, and I think it'll hold this concrete together. But I got a little bit of bad news today. My concrete man, I was hoping he was going to be able to make it up here the end of next week, but with weather and jobs not going the way they were supposed to, he's backed up on me. So I'm gonna have to wait a couple weeks before he shows up. So I've got a little bit of time here, I guess, to get this steel tied in. But I think for the meanwhile, electrician's up here ready for me to locate some exterior plugs. So I'm gonna go inside, do a little bit of work and get them so I don't have them held up, and then I'll reconvene on the steel tie-in here in a couple days, and we'll be ready for him when he comes. Well, the timeline woes of building a house continue, but hey, everybody's busy and got stuff going on, so that's just part of it. But we'll get it done when we get it done. But we do need to get this concrete down. That way my stone guy can start. But windows should be here in a couple weeks, so hopefully I can get those down. But we got to get our concrete down so we can put our steel structure up here for a porch, and then the list goes on and on and on. But we'll get done one of these days. But anyway, if you watch this one, I appreciate it. And we've had some people subscribe here lately, so I appreciate it. And we'll catch you on another one.